The promise was that we'll have a national conversation about education in this country.
Yes, that is true.
When is that?
That is on the card. Indeed, President Mahama has reiterated that any time that he has met a delegation that has called on, that will be done in due course. Indeed, he has discussed it with the IMF, with other development partners, with CHAS and all the others that have called on him. So it is something that he remains committed to. Indeed, there's also the National Economic Dialogue, which may perhaps precede the national education because of the exigency
and the connections that can come out of it.
So all that remain on the case.
But we don't have timelines for those.
No, I don't. As of now, no date has been set. But it will be pretty soon.
Still within the 120 days.
Absolutely, it will be pretty soon. Yes, because these are urgent things that need to be done. Because the economy is in a parlous situation, a parlous state. I beg your pardon. Our education is in shambles. I mean, there are simply too many problems. And government is determined to kickstart the process of addressing those. The way that we think we can do it is to achieve consensus around some of the critical issues in terms of funding, structuring, curriculum, what have you. When it comes to the economy, there are things that need to be done. By all means, because of the situation, there are some decisions that ought to be taken. And therefore, we need to achieve the buy-in of critical stakeholders to be able to do that.
Talking about consensus, because when it comes to education, for instance, there's also the school of thought out there that free SHS should be targeted. You, Felix,
absolutely
can pay your child's school fees through secondary school. Why should the state pay for you? I can pay my child's school fees through secondary school. So there's a conversation that why don't those who can afford pay? Or why don't, for instance, make day schools free and then boarding fee paying, but then those who cannot afford are giving scholarships to go through? So is it the case that if at the end of these meetings, the general consensus is a movement away from the current system, the president would be bound by it, or like you said in your manifesto, free SHS stays?
Of course. You see, I'm happy that you brought this up. One of the problems that we have faced over the period is the phenomenon of shallow populism. You see, it has become very difficult to state an opinion on some of these matters because you'll be pigeonholed immediately and things will be said about you. Now, if we are going to overcome some of the difficulties that we face, we are going to have to open up the system and take on board various views and suggestions. That school of thought that you alluded to is one that is worth considering. It should not be dismissed offhandedly simply because somebody thinks that there's some political capital to be made from saying that you've implemented free SHS. There is a problem that we all admit. Indeed, beyond the feeding issue, very early on in this government, I think on the second or third day, CHAS issued a statement indicating that they were owed close to 3 billion Ghana cedis in arrears relating to free senior high school. So we are implementing a policy that we are not funding, essentially. And how do you explain it? I had a nasty experience during this campaign. Do you know that there's a prominent school in my constituency?
I know
perhaps the most prominent amongst all the
I know that school.
Yes. I was shocked to learn that they have a student population of over 4,000 students. I was shocked to learn that last year, the whole of last year, they were giving 9,000 Ghana cedis to manage the school. 9,000 Ghana cedis for 4,000 students.
Entire year.
There are days when they will reach out to me and tell me that their dormitories have run out of electricity credit, and so I should help them to buy SIM. There's a very prominent school outside of my constituency in the central region, Cape Coast, who suffer problems. Their entire boys' dormitory is plunged into darkness intermittently because they cannot afford to buy 1,000 cedis worth of electricity credit. I had to embark on a program to equip all the secondary schools in my constituency with sporting items because they didn't have it. There were times when they went for games and people had to play football barefooted. They had to run barefooted. Right. So there are basic fundamental problems. The way to overcome those is to listen to everybody who has a thought to share and distill the best ideas that come up and find a way to implement it on the basis of the consensus that is reached. So when that dialogue is held and the ideas are put forward, they will be put into a melting pot. Of course, one is not bound to take every advice that you get. But if what is said at the forum, the contributions that come, are contributions that can help to improve the system and ensure that ultimately the fundamental reason why the free SHS conversation came up, which is so that no Ghanaian child is left behind. If we can achieve that objective, I don't think that the pathway to doing it is necessarily a problem. You understand the point I'm making? If it is thought that you, Winston, myself, and Raymond here can pay for our children, so we should pay. And that the people in Abuenu or in Predu in Eiki, or Romwa, or Obokul cannot afford, and so they should be lent a helping hand. Why not? So I think that the way to proceed is not to take entrenched positions and pigeonhole people who express divergent opinion. Ultimately, everybody wants every Ghanaian child to go to school. Now, the contention is, how do we achieve this objective? Some say that there should be a blanket implementation of this thing, whether we have the money or not. Others say, no, tarry a bit. Let us do some means targeting. Let us ensure that those who can afford do not waste resources, so to speak, and that those who really need the help are the ones that we target to achieve it. These are conversations that we need to have, but it has to be had in a free and candid manner, devoid of any fears of pigeonholing and bastardization, simply because your views may not align with others. So the president is open-minded about this and wants to hear the various shades of opinion. But what he can guarantee is that no Ghanaian child is going to be left out on the basis of affordability or the lack of it thereof.